Hey, online crew, if you ever have anyone say to you your products are too expensive, then this is the live for you. So I'm going to run through a few things in this live training just to help equip you with some things to do and say when somebody tells you that your products are too expensive. It's quite common, especially in our industry. The products can be a little bit more expensive than mainstream kind of supermarkets, or if you're in like health and wellness, like health food shops and those kind of things. So people think automatically that they're too expensive. So we need to have good skills around this, because what we tend to do when people give us a price objection is get a little bit defensive, and we can very easily say the wrong things. And when you say the wrong things, they're really hard to come back from. So we want to have the right skill to deal with this objection, because it comes up a lot. So hopefully this video will help you with that. A couple of quick reminders before I go into those strategies. If you are in my coaching community, I just did a very in-depth training on the convert stage of the ABC strategy of social selling success, which is attract, build, and convert. And that's what all of you should be thinking about if you want to be successful with network marketing, social selling, MLM, whatever you want to call it, online, is attracting new eyeballs to you all the time, continuously, but building influence and building your brand over those eyeballs, because that's what creates trust. And once you have that, then you can convert. So you can convert to a customer or a team member. It doesn't work in any other sequence than that. You got to attract people to you first, build a brand and influence over them, and then you convert. If you sit in the convert phase for initially, like you want sales and you want team members, but you haven't done the attract and you haven't done the build, good luck with the converting. So it has to go in that order. So in the last 3 weeks, I've gone through every one of those phases in my coaching community in depth and given you detailed notes as well. So go and catch the replay of that, those of you that are in my coaching community, and go and download those notes. There's 9 pages of notes. I've given you scripts. I've given you all sorts of stuff. It's gold, okay? Now, back to this training with price objections. The very first thing I'm going to share with you is what not to do. Okay, so the first thing you don't want to do when you get a price objection is to defend it. Okay, so when somebody gives you an objection, the last thing you want to do is defend it and kind of because it comes across as defensive. I guess when you're defending it, it comes off defensive, and you don't want to do that. So things like, but it's amazing quality, or but it's so worth it, or it lasts for so long, or those kind of defensive sort of sentences. This is what you don't want to do. You want strategies around how to deal with that and like really understand the problem. Okay, so number 1 is don't defend the price objection. Try to really understand the objection, so then you can sort of deal with that. Okay, so number 1, don't defend it by saying, but it's really good value, or but it lasts for months, or those kind of things. So don't defend the price objection. Number 2, really good strategy. I learned it many years ago. Some of you might know it, but might need reminding of it. It's Eric Worre's original kind of strategy with dealing with any objection, and it's called Feel, Felt, Found. If you haven't heard of that before, let me explain it. Feel, felt, found. Write that down if you're not familiar with it. I understand how you feel. So the first thing I mentioned is we're not getting defensive, because it kind of creates a little bit of angst. We're actually agreeing with the objection. I understand how you feel. So you agree with how the objection that they're giving you. That's the feel. I felt the same way too. But here's what I found. Works every time, and any objection, business, product, it's gold. Okay, I use it all the time. The psychology around it, though, is that you're not defending that what they think is true to them. If somebody says your products are too expensive, that's important to them. It's what they think. So when we defend it, we're kind of arguing with them, and that doesn't get us the outcome we want. When we say, I understand what you feel, I understand how you feel, we're actually agreeing with their objection. So now they're not defensive. They don't feel like you're defending it or getting, aggressive with them around it. Like you're saying, I understand how you feel. I felt the same way. By saying I felt the same way, now you're actually sort of on the same page as them. So now they feel seen and heard. And then you say, but what I found was, these products, whatever, you could talk about the ingredients, you could talk about, how long they last. Then you could talk about comparing them, because that's what they're really doing. They're comparing with other things that they might like, particularly in health and wellness. If that's the kind of products that you've got, they are comparing with what they can get from a supermarket or a health food shop, something like that. It's like, what I found is when I picked up products like this that were similar in the supermarket or the health food shop, like I didn't realize that they were actually full of synthetic ingredients and fillers. Like that's why they're able to sell them so cheap. So you really do get what you pay for. So I found that investing in something with higher quality, like it actually works and does what it says it's meant to, rather than filling my body with synthetic ingredients. See the difference? So feel, felt, found is the way you want to tackle it, rather than what I said, like the number one strategy is defending it. Oh, but they're so good. Or they've got ingredients from such and such a country and you can't get them anywhere else. And like, this is exclusive to our company. And, you kind of go on the defensive. So instead, the second strategy is you use feel, felt, found. Like, I totally understand how you feel. I felt the same way. But what I found after a bit of research was, and then you go into the things that you know to be true that help sort of justify the value, which brings me to number 3. You need to actually explain what they're paying for, which is the value. When people value things, then they'll pay. So if somebody is telling you that your products are too expensive, they don't see the value yet. So what you really need to think about when somebody says it's too expensive is, what is the value of what they're paying? You know your products, like, is it the ingredients? Is it where they're sourced from? Is it how they're made? Is it the quality? Like, I don't know your products. You know your products. Like, what is the value of why they're paying what they're paying for? That is what you truly need to understand. If you don't understand that, then go and do some research and understand that, so you're armed with that information. Okay? So you should always be thinking, when somebody says it's too expensive, like they're just not valuing it. Like, people that pay more money for things, they value it. Even like people will pay more money for something with a label on it. You know what I'm talking about? Like expensive brands, like they've actually got a brand name. Like, ladies, you think of the Chanel or the Yves Saint Laurent, or, whatever it is. Like, people will pay more because they value the brand. They value what comes with the brand, which is all like impression and prestige and all of that. There's value attached to that brand. People will pay for value, but your job is to establish that value. So if somebody is telling you your products or your business, even is too expensive, you haven't given them enough value yet. And that's what you want to work on with your conversation. Okay. So it could be back to the ingredients again. It could be back to what I shared kind of before, in that these are really high quality ingredients. The company decided to invest in high quality ingredients instead of the cheap ones that you get in a supermarket. Like, you really do get what you pay for. A lot of those, supplements that you find in a supermarket or a health food shop, they've got synthetic fillers in them, and they're really bad for your health. So the company didn't want to do that or resort to that. I mean, yeah, they could offer cheaper stuff, but they won't sacrifice quality. Their whole, mission and reputation is around the quality of what they provide. So you really do get what you pay for. So that's establishing the value. So there's a little bit of homework kind of for you, is how do you establish the value of your products with whatever it is that you sell? Like, go and sort of find that information and have that up your sleeve so you can justify sort of the value. Okay. Number 4. A really good way to deal with price objections is to actually break it down to something a lot smaller. So I guess an example to make it easier to understand. Let's say you've got a supplement of some sort that lasts for a month and it's like $120. So they say, oh, like, that's a little bit expensive for me. Break it down. Say, yeah, I understand how you feel. I felt that same way too. But what I found when I broke it down, like there's 30 serves, like $120. If I used it every day, that's only $4 a day. I actually pay more for a takeaway cup of coffee. Like I'm paying $7 or $8 for a takeaway latte. So, I found that investing $4 in my health was worth it rather than paying sort of, $7 or $8 a day for a takeaway sort of coffee. So one of the ways that you can deal with price objections is to break down the overall price into how long it lasts, and then give them like a per day type cost, and then equate that with some kind of everyday living type cost that they're probably paying way much for. When you break it down like that, it helps people understand the value again, which is what we just talked about before, and it doesn't make it seem so expensive. Even things that are like, if your company sells bundles or you've got something, but in that something, like you're selling it as a pack or a bundle, there's 2 or 3 products in it. And out of those 2 or 3 products, they might replace in general about 4 or 5 different types of products with the ingredients that it's got in it, because the ingredients are so good. So break all of that down, have that knowledge, and have that, well, I was going to say justification, but you don't want to justify it because you might be coming across as defensive, but have that value stacking is probably a better way to put it. Does that make sense? So you value stack the reason for the price of what you've got. You don't ever want to devalue the price or agree with somebody that's too expensive. You've got to own your products. If you think your products are too expensive, then you've got some work to do on your belief in your company with your products. So you'd want to go and do a bit of research on the value of the ingredients and the quality and the sourcing and why things are the way that they are, or, having that bit of information in you that a lot of the cheap products in the supermarket, whatever, they use synthetic ingredients and they use fillers. That's how they're able to sell them so cheap, and even on Amazon, because people say, is it available on Amazon? Like so many of those things, like if it's $20 or $30 and they're comparing it to with yours, that's like $100, or more, it's not comparing the same thing. And you've got to make that really clear. So that's up to you to have that knowledge about your products, so you can, I guess, justify that value of that price point. And also, be able to break down that price point with things that are cheaper, and also things that are like an everyday cost that like the coffee example that I gave you as well. Okay. The last thing is, you don't want to answer the price objection until you really understand where the price objection is coming from. So you want to kind of ask a question like, I understand how you feel. I felt the same way, but you may not go on to what I found. Well, you could, but then you could ask, do you mind me asking, is it more of a budget, like a budget reason, or is it that you just don't see the value in it? So a price objection can mean very different things. For some people, it will literally be that they don't have the money. And for other people, it'll be that they don't actually see the value, even though they do have the money. And trust me, people have the money. When they perceive the value, they will find the money. So it's usually more money than budget, but there are people that just literally can't afford things. But if they perceive the value, they will save up, and they're the ones that will say to you, "Oh, I get paid next week, so I'll do it then." Because they actually perceive the value, so they're willing to do that. But you can't deal with a price objection until you know which one of the two it is, or if there's even something else in there. So ask them, Yeah, I understand, the way you feel. I felt the same way. But what I found, like when I compared it with other stuff that I used to buy from the supermarket, man, the ingredients are so different. Like I didn't realize that the things from the supermarket, they're full of synthetic ingredients and fillers, and that's really bad for the body. So, I'm willing to pay more because the value is really there, and the higher quality ingredients, like they really work. And what I found also with what's in them is it replaces, blah, 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 and blah, blah. So do you mind me asking, is it more of a budget issue, or is it that you just don't see the value in it? Like, ask the question. Or you can even ask when they say, like, it's too expensive. It's like, do you mind me asking what you're comparing that to? Try to understand what the real reason is regarding the price objection, so then you can actually deal with it rather than just making assumption that they're just saying overall it's too expensive. So I just went in this in detail in the coaching community training. Your success in this industry with like converting people and dealing with objections is always comes back to the quality of the questions that you ask. The skill that you really want to get good at with converting people and dealing with people's objections and getting the sale is the quality of the questions that you ask people. When you get defensive, when you say too much, when you go straight to information, when you go straight to ingredients, you go straight to all the details, you go straight to PDFs, you go straight to information, you are not letting that person be seen and heard, and you're not dealing with probably what they're really thinking or feeling unless you ask. So the number 5 strategy around this is ask. So you can still use, as I said, the feel, felt, found. Like, I understand how you feel. I felt the same way. Here's what I found. So do you mind me asking, is it more of a budget, issue, or is it that you're just not seeing the value, like in the product? And they say, I don't see the value. And then you can say, do you mind me asking, compared, what are you comparing that to? And try to understand, get curious about what they're thinking, because you don't know and you can't assume. So it's really hard to deal with price objections unless you ask really good quality questions and try to understand, and then you've got half an opportunity to turn it around. Okay? So, I was just looking at my notes. Hang on. I've got an example here. If they say, I'm just not sure it's worth that much, at least you now know that it's a value problem. And you could say something like, would it help if I explained a little bit more about what's in the product, or the reason why, the price is that? Like, would it help if I explained a little bit more? Like, there's ways that you can deal with this in a very respectful way other than being defensive, which was the first thing that I was talking about. Okay. So was this helpful? It really is a skill to learn how to deal with objections, and price is a huge one. But if you follow these 5 strategies that I've shared with you in this live video today, I know it will equip you better when this comes up next. And I hope you think of me next time you come up with a price objection from a potential prospect or a potential customer, that you utilize some of these strategies and you get a better result. But the only way you get good at dealing with these kind of objections, particularly about price, like we're talking about today, is to go and practice the things that I've shared with you. These 5 things that I've shared with you in this video, like write them down, make some notes and practice them. And that's when you will, somewhere along the line, it doesn't matter what any objection somebody throws at you, when you practice these skills, you can turn it around and you can do it with a smile on your face, instead of going, I don't know what to say. Or you feel total rejection because somebody said no. This is a really important skill for you to practice, particularly the feel, felt, found. That can help you with anything, not only a price objection, lots of different objections, even in life, even with your kids, even with your partner. It's a life skill to learn to practice that. So go and practice it and get much better at dealing with price objections so you can convert to the sale. Okay, I really hope that helps. So, yeah, go and practice what I've shared with you today. Okay, this is my last live video for this week. So, I will see you next week for more ideas, tips, training on how to build your business online. And always remember, be a human before a marketer.